We are doing this clip called Hot Takes, where we tackle 10 topics that are trending around the country, and we give our take, whether we agree or not, then we give our take why. So let's get down to it. Hot take number one. After watching the hearings, do you see Kash Patel being confirmed for FBI director? Big John.
Yes, but I wish he wouldn't be.
There you go. G.
I say yes because he doesn't have that 1,000-yard stare of someone who's shell shocked. He has 100-yard stare that says, "I'm going to get things done and get in the end zone," and I think that's why he'll get confirmed.
Oh, most definitely. If Kash Patel wasn't in government service, he'd be a superstar in Bollywood. Yeah.
But he won't be a Shah Rukh Khan.
There you go. Hot take number two. After watching I sound like a broken record. After watching the hearings, do you see Tulsi Gabbard being confirmed for DNI? G.
I think that one's going to be a very close one, and Trump's going to make a call at 11:59 p.m. to some senator and offer them something in return for that 50th vote. And I think she will get through. Yeah, I think she will make it.
John.
She will, but it'll be because J.D. Vance casts the deciding vote.
I hope she does, but I have to be honest, people. Based on the hearings, I saw all three hearings, especially for the next one we're going to talk about, but I just don't see it happening right now. There's about 6 to 8 votes against her. I hope I'm wrong.
By the way, for people who are interested from the Liberty perspective, both Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard, which is why I hope they wouldn't make it, but they are, both of them have gone back on their pre-hearing positions. Tulsi is, she's for warrantless spying, and so is Kash Patel. And for both of those, that's a big no-no that they acceded to that, and that's just not something that you would have expected. So that's why my negativity towards both of them, because otherwise I might be inclined to say yes, but that's my main reason for.
Well, here's why you should be inclined, because I was just like John a day ago after watching the hearings, after letting, because I got angry at that. I'm like, you got to stick to your word, your honor, etc. But after watching the hearings and all that, I get it. Tulsi Gabbard would have been 40 no's has she not stayed silent on Snowden and Patel. So this is part of the game we talked about off camera or on some other shows. You got to play it. And I loathe it, but I grudgingly understand it. And that's something, as I've said in the past, the libertarians need to get over themselves on. I don't say it in a good or bad way. I'm just saying you got to move your party forward. You got to understand that's part of the game. And we all loathe it. And I loathe this one gritted teeth because Kash Patel's my hero. All right. Here's a fun one. Will Paramount settle with Trump over his CBS 60 Minutes lawsuit? Before I ask for your answers, to give you context, Paramount is trying to sell and merge with Skydance, so a big lawsuit could hold that sale back. So, G, do you think they settle?
They will settle. It's not going to be anywhere near an absurd $10 billion, but they will settle. So because they're going to lose a lot more money if they don't.
Correct. And Big John, this has to do with the 60 Minutes when they changed up the right. Kamala Harris intro. What's your thoughts?
I wish they would not settle, but geez, right. It's just an accounting decision at this point. How much do we stand to make by not settling, and how much do we stand to lose? How much do we end up ahead by settling? So if it comes down to an actuarial decision, they'll settle. But I wish they wouldn't, because that's how Trump gets away with a lot of this stuff, even in his personal life.
Hey, Big John, I think you need to check your omnidirectional setting. It sounds as if it's just doing the straight.
How's that? Better?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
They will settle for 2 reasons. They're trying to settle Skydance. 2, while it may be an accounting number, CNN settled just a week and a half ago because they were looking at a possibility of 100 to 150 million in punitive damages. News agencies have gotten so blatant, and I am not for these settlements and these for them to win. They're supposed to be our heroes, our social justice warriors, the media, but they become belligerent, blatant, and they're hiding behind the Sullivan decision too much. So I think they're going to settle. Next question. Should Sam Bankman-Fried, former CEO of FTX, a crypto company, be pardoned by Trump? This is your neck of the woods, Big G.
In my opinion, right? You're asking my opinion. No, but this guy, I mean, even though he probably just got caught up in borrowing a little too much, and then it just got bigger and bigger over time, and then collapsed. So maybe he started off good with good intentions, but ended off being a criminal. No, many people lost thousands and millions of dollars because of this guy. So no.
Big John.
Yeah, I mean, he's guilty of fraud. He's so. I mean, the fact that it's draped in crypto doesn't make him like a libertarian cause celeb, right? He's a fraudster. Libertarians believe in enforcement of legal contracts. So yeah, if he defrauded his clients and his customers, absolutely.
Right. I disagree with you, G. I don't think he will get pardoned. I hope he doesn't. But I think from the get go, and his former fiance, his finance person, came out with no, he was cooking the books, and he's also a hardcore leftist. So it just seems like an odd makeup. But maybe they see something here. But I hope not, and I don't think he will. Okay. The Fifth Circuit overturned the gun purchase age limit from 18 to 20. They sent to clarify, they sent it back down. They're like, we're sending this back down, and you better do it right. Big John, you could have conferred with Big Dan before this answer.
That's true. So you're asking me, do I agree with them lowering the age or increasing?
Well, to the audience, Big John has come. This deals with the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit. They rule. Let me get to you in layman terms. The Fifth Circuit, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit stated that the law stopping gun shops from selling handguns to people 18 to 21 is not legal. And they used the old ways of looking at the Constitution to make the call, meaning they looked at past cases and what the Constitution means to own firearms. And they said, we're sending this back down to you. This is how we're looking at the law. This is how you need to look at the law. In essence, they're saying they have a right to buy a gun. Big job.
Well, is that what they're saying, or are they saying that the law needs to be crafted more narrowly to address a situation specifically, which the Supreme Court also likes to do? So,
well, the ruling reverses the prohibition established by 18 U.S.C. 922b1, remanding the case for further proceedings aligned with this new interpretation of Second Amendment rights. By new interpretation, meaning how the Fifth Circuit interpreted it, and they interpreted it.
Right, so they're giving them a chance to rewrite the law.
Oh, no, in terms of to correct
to correct themselves in the way the law is written, right?
Correct.
Because if what they wrote was flat out unconstitutional, they would have said it's unconstitutional. What they do in a lot of these cases is they'll say, like, for example, New York's gravity knife law that the lawyer you mentioned, Dan, actually argued in front of, right? It was too general. They said that any knife, if it opens upside down or if it had the language they used was very vague, and it could catch a lot of people who otherwise would not be lawbreakers, right? So they sent it back to the court and they said, no, rewrite it. And after they rewrote it, they said, okay, now that you rewrote it, it's unconstitutional, right? So the same thing might be happening here. Like they said, like the way it's written, it's not good. Take it back, rewrite it, look at it. Here's our opinion, but rewrite it. You have the opportunity to rewrite it. So,
but Big John, I don't understand that. They're ruling on a law that is on California's books. I believe it's California. But you're saying yes or no, good or bad? Neutral. What they're saying it's illegal. It's not. It should be legal to
sell guns to 18 to 21-year-olds. And I'm saying, if you're asking me about the law itself, it means they just need a chance to rewrite it. If you're asking me my opinion, that's a different story. My opinion is no one should own a gun until they're 25 when their brain is fully formed.
Well,
that's my opinion, without infringing on your Second Amendment right. But
and Big John says he loathes politicians. Boy, man, that was long-winded political.
Sorry, brother. Sorry.
G.
But he was very direct at the very end. That was
yeah.
Admit it. Snowden's a traitor.
No, I mean, okay. So I agree with John in terms of the actual law being the right or wrong decision. I mean, there might be a reason for doing that other than letting 18 to 20-year-olds buy guns. But the question I think you're asking is, Second Amendment gives us the right to bear arms. Does that mean 5-year-olds can do that too? Uh, as the Second Amendment is written, yes, but we can write further laws to restrict that because we obviously see that's not right. So for 18 to 20-year-olds, I would say they should not own guns, and I would maybe put it around 21.
Yeah, you're
And
framing it as an age of consent issue,
That's
Gene,
when I did my research.
right? Yeah,
That's what I
yeah.
got out of it, was in the age of consent. So my take is y'all trying to be all this philosophical bullshit. 18 to 20, an 18-year-old girl at UCSD walking back to campus has the right to have a conceal and carry, especially how campuses have been terrorized, and not even walking back, staying in her apartment. It's illegal for her to have that gun. They are putting vulnerable women, young girls, into harm's way. John, you're right, but let's not forget, and it doesn't happen today, but I'm not reaching, but I'm proving a point here. Back in the old Western days, Uncle Johnny or Cousin Billy
Sure.
or Papa Bill used to take you out at 6 or 7. Son, we're going to learn how to shoot. So I don't see a 5-year-old having a gun, but you can teach somebody to respect a weapon and shoot him. Yeah. With a caveat, I agree. That's one thing I'll disagree with the hardcore Second Amendment guy. No, to get the gun, you have to go through training. A gun.
Yeah, like if they establish a licensing, even though I hate licensing because that's just a government racket. Right. If you at least establish a licensing, you take the ambiguity out of it and you say, okay, if at any age you can pass this test, then okay, you can have a gun. But if you don't have that, then waiting for an age of consent for anything else seems to make sense as well.
I don't think there is an age of consent where you can just buy the gun without training outside of a shotgun. I'm sorry. You can't buy a gun without having to go through the training. I can buy a gun without having, but I go to the range. And I'm okay, because at the end of the day, we don't shoot like they used to shoot at the Old West, But as far as 5-year-olds not having, technically, I would disagree with that because you can teach a 5-year-old how to shoot. But my point is, any age, you need to learn how to shoot responsibly.
Well,
but
let me have a quick word on this. So this is a controversial issue, right? Or maybe not controversial, but there's a room for a lot of opinions. I could be convinced either way. I mean, yeah, you're making good points there. I can see saying, okay, let's let an 18-year-old do it. So I think this is just going to go back and forth for a while, personally.
No, you're right. I just, while you're saying that, I just thought, I think it was a James Bond, where it's like the girl's there and he undresses her right where, the woman's spot comes the gun, like, take that there, Mr. Rapist.
But all the more reason for a specific law, though. And I think that's why it got remanded, right? Like, if you have to write out the law in a way that's unambiguous, ambiguity is an enemy of any law. So if that might be what the remand was for, just make this clearer, and then we'll consider it.
I think regardless, that's one of the laws that will go down in flames, just because of the simple example I gave, and I truly believe that in my heart. I'm like, you're trying to tell a woman she can't protect herself in her own house, so anyway, political retribution or legitimate. Milley under investigation. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has taken significant actions against retired General Mark Milley. I said Milley, it's Milley, including revoking his security detail and clearance and initiating an investigation into his conduct. Gee.
Well, I mean, Joe Biden did a presumptive pardon on him, and I don't understand why. Hand me a pardon, I would say no, thank you. What do you think I did? So if Milley got a pardon, I think it's worthwhile looking in there and seeing, what else we can do other than prosecute him. So take away security detail and clearance. Sure, why not? If there's a good reason. Only if there's a good reason, not for political retribution, though.
Correct. Big John.
Well, the thing you have to understand, that the way I view it, is the same reason that people say, well, if you're not guilty, why do you take the Fifth Amendment? Because that's what it's there for. You're guilty or not. Innocent men are also well advised to keep their mouths shut when they're on the stand, right? So the fact that he's getting a blanket pardon doesn't in my mind equate to automatic guilt. I'm not saying he is or he isn't. That doesn't play a factor for me. The vendettas have to end. I've said this before. I don't care what Biden did. At some point, somebody has to be the adult in the room and say, we're stopping political retribution. The problem is that both Trump and a lot of his hand-picked people, they spent a good portion of the campaign trail saying, we're out to get revenge. We're out for blood. When we're in charge, you'll really see what it's like to have political prosecution and persecution. So that's the problem here. You've spoken a good game. So whether you do it or not.
He's never said that. That's what the media has said. He's actually said our revenge will be success. Now he's alluded. Now remember, and I'm going to get to my point as to why he needs to be persecuted. And every military person will tell you and will agree with me, and they'll tell you the same thing. But Trump said, lock her up. And he did nothing to anybody his first 4 years. Then they attacked him. And Big John, I'm with you. It has to stop. But it's never going to stop until the other side feels the pain that they inflicted on their enemy. Once
then
they
it never ends. That's a vendetta. That's a classic mafia vendetta. It never ends. Then
let me finish. This isn't the mafia; it's politics, and eventually the higher ups, because these higher ups stay in power for decades now. It's not like 1-2 terms. They will realize I could be on a chopping block. We've shown them the way. They're coming after us now, and Republicans are good for that. They learn from the Democrats, and the biggest lesson learned was the Supreme Court when they lifted the you have to get 60 for the federal judges so Obama could get some of his across the finish line. McConnell did the same thing. That's how come we got the conservatives. So and I'm defending Republicans, and I'm a conservative first, but Republicans are the ones who always hold their hand. I mean, keep their hands tied. And Trump has he never really said those things, John, but every body action kind of alluded to that. So I'll give you that. But in this case, there's Article 94 of the UCMJ, and that is treason. What y'all don't understand from a military standpoint, the moment Milley made the phone call behind the commander-in-chief's back, he reports directly to the commander-in-chief. He called China. I don't like my boss here, and we're thinking of doing this, and this, and if something happens, I'll give you a call back. That's treason by UCMJ. And that is why he was given a preemptive pardon, in my opinion. And there could be more stuff that we don't know about from the Pentagon higher ups. Milley is not a true general. And he's a general. What I'm trying to say is I learned in the military, and I was told this by more than one officer, flag officers, meaning those generals at the Pentagon, they're all political. 95% come from the academies, not the general. There's over 3,000 officers, less than 5% of them that are up there in the big higher status. West Point, Air Force, Annapolis. It's a good old boys country club. Milley was a political beast. Milley was more worried about DEI, which is a big lie to those who haven't served. I worked with a lot of Indians. John, I worked with a lot of Greeks, a lot of whites, a lot of blacks. They were all above me. There is politics, but it's usually friendships when you have the boards for promotions. But it is as diverse as you come. So Milley, the moment he called China, brought him under the jurisdiction of the UCMJ. So I don't know what Hexef. This is something that you have to prosecute him. You have to get your generals in line. If you lose, there's a reason it's a civilian that's in charge of the military, because the founding fathers saw over history how military juntas quickly form up and take control of a nation. So you cannot have a general deciding upon himself. I'm going to call the enemy up to give him a heads up. That's treason, my friends. Now, people may see it differently, but it's one of these areas where if the top dog says it's treason, he can be tried for treason, but he's got a pardon. So they can try him. I mean, they can investigate. They can throw the book at him, but he's not going to do any time. But I think, plus he's also no longer in the military. And as I said last week, dude, if you're no longer in the military, you lose all that stuff. Why should you have a detail? What makes you special, fat boy? Seriously. Okay, I pontificated at that point, right? Hey, I know that word, pontificate. Question 8. Does Elon Musk deserve the Nobel Peace Prize for free speech advocacy? Branko Grims, a Slovenian member of the European Parliament, has nominated him for the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize for his advocacy of free speech. Big John.
it's one of those things I couldn't care less. I mean, the Nobel Peace Prize has gone to people that are anything but proponents of peace. Obama, uh, whatever. I couldn't care less. Nelson Mandela was a terrorist in Africa. He got the Peace Prize later in life. I couldn't care less. If he wins it, hey, good for him if that's what he wants. But honestly, it's a worthless prize. I couldn't care less.
Gee.
I'm trying to see how that brings peace to the world. Again, Big John just referenced
No,
Obama.
It's specific. There are 10 zillion categories of the Nobel.
Okay, but it's specifically for free speech.
Free speech, correct.
Yeah, and Obama got his right after bombing. I forgot which country, Yemen, I think it was. It was a joke.
Sorry. Let's say it. We all know why Obama got it. To me, that's a detriment to every strong black person who's actually accomplished something.
Right. Yeah. Because of his skin color, not the content of his character. But Elon Musk, I mean, he did something amazing, and a lot of our social media has opened up in terms of trying to allow both sides of the aisle to speak freely. I've even seen Newsweek have conservatives and liberal ideas and stuff. So it's even happening in traditional media. So Elon Musk has done a lot. Does he deserve the Nobel Peace Prize? That seems a little far-fetched. So I will say no.
He does, but because of everything John said, so many useless people have won it for not doing anything. His for a while was the only voice, and still we haven't seen that full voice on Facebook or other social media platforms. So he brought transparency as much as a private company will to X by not censoring or banning people, and X has quickly become the town hall of the nation, and it's extending to Europe. It was just named the #1 app. I can't remember what country. I want to say India, but maybe I just saw my Indian kick. I don't know. But in one of these countries, Mexico or one of those countries. So I think for that, yes. And again, I base it on what Big John says. Useless people have won. He actually did something for free speech here. It may not be the true free speech in how a libertarian sees it or how I'd like to see it in certain ways, but it's the best free speech we've seen in the last 8 years. Okay, Doge is not a formal department. However, is it working or not? And can it succeed in the long term? Some context here. They just removed $1 billion in DEI contracts this week for the federal government, which is a useless, whether you agree with it or not, the government shouldn't be involved in that type of training paying companies. But overall, they've saved us so far $34 billion. Gee.
I mean, is it working? Well, okay, so if I take 2,000 steps forward and 1 step back and then another 2,000 steps forward, did I take a step back? Yeah. So Doge is going to work, but it's going to be a drop in the bucket. And we're just going to continue on this, huge deficits and draining of our wealth as a country. So
you don't see 34 billion as a drop in the bucket only. Is what you see.
It is out of, what is it, 6 trillion in spending?
Correct. And John, before you answer, he said we've got to kick 24 billion a day for a year to just reduce the deficit by 1 trillion. But Elon says it's doable. I don't think it is, but I got to be honest. Elon's kind of proving all the damn critics wrong. So I would bet against him on this one, but I wouldn't be shocked if he managed to make it happen. So Big John.
Well, there's two pieces to this, right? In terms of the budget and the spending and the expenditures, look, people have known this for a while. You go back to Jack Kemp in the 80s. He said, if you keep spending flat, just flat, you will eliminate the deficit. And I think back then it was 7 to 8 years. Now it might take 10 years. And to me, that's always been the reasonable way to do it. You don't have to cut. Things will naturally be through attrition, things will disappear. If you just say you're not allowed to spend more, you don't even have to cut anything per se, because our economy is strong enough that the tax revenue will balance the budget eventually. Now, whether that's a good or a bad thing, you can decide that after 10 years, right? Or 12 years, however long it takes. The problem is each politician wants to give more and more stuff away to get reelected, and then they just kick the can down the road. But the second point that you guys haven't touched on is rhetorical question you don't necessarily have to answer. Why are Soros-appointed DAs objectionable, but Shanahan-approved cabinet positions something good? Why are Elon Musk appointed or approved budgets okay, but Soros is not? This still means that you have an extra governmental monetary influence making decisions through strong arming. Now, I have no problem with it because it falls under free speech. Citizens United covered that. So it's okay in terms of legality. And it's okay for me because it's free speech. But it's hypocritical either for liberals or conservatives to object to either one. If you're somebody who said, hey, look at Soros, look at the influence, he's destroying the DAs, look, he hates America, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fair enough. Why is Shanahan now good? Nicole Shanahan, she came out and said, you don't approve RFK, I will primary, I'm a billionaire, and I will primary every Republican and every Democrat that does not vote for RFK.
Okay.
Why is that better? I'm trying to understand. Same thing with Doge, by the way. Same thing with Doge.
I'm going to answer that. See, here's where my issue with the libertarian is living in La La Land. Is George Soros wants to destroy the country. His actions show a destruction by letting criminals out, by letting rapists out, by letting murderers out. Musk is working under Trump, and that's authorized. Now, that said, John, I've always been with you on the sense you got to keep an eye on these people because power corrupts and money brings corruption. But that's the key difference. That's what I mean by La La Land. Yeah, I get your point of he can do it, and he is doing it because of the laws. We just need to wake up to it. And that's my whole take is, do y'all realize who's sponsoring that woman or that man for DA? It's Soros, an outsider who has purposely made it his mission to take America down and has said as such in many ways. Elon is saying the opposite. So yes, and he's doing it under Trump. I say, yeah, that's fine. That's why it's fine. One is trying to kind of fix America through the power of the presidency by working under him. One is trying to destroy America. That said, you got to keep an eye on Elon because Elon's done things I'm like, I don't like how Elon used American tax dollars to become a billionaire in those early on days. But the reality of it is that's how life works. So you have to battle one while propping one up, but keeping your eyes open to that. And the problem
I want to answer too a little more distilled, basically what you said, but a little more distilled. Like, I don't oppose Elon or Soros, Shanahan, Elon or Soros using their money for whatever their causes are, right? But I just don't agree with Soros's causes, and I think his causes are wrong. And for now, Elon and Shanahan, their causes seem to be on the right path, but they like William just said, it can go off the rails, and they could present their own left-wing socialist ideas, and I'll be like, hold up. But they can use their money any way that they want.
That's my point, right? Yeah. It's my point. Like the idea that we rail against, by we I mean libertarians, is if you approve of something, the first thing you should do is picture it in the hands of your worst political enemy. That's I judge every law like that, every opinion like that. So I appreciate your honesty, G. Your guy, you agree with these guys, so that's why it's good for you. You disagree with Soros, that's why Soros is bad. At least you're being honest with yourself. There is no difference between the two in terms of function, because if let's say Elon does go off the rails, who's stopping him? Trump?
Right. No? Okay, so I don't.
Right?
I want to keep moving, but real quick though, on that is you got to look at life in pragmatic terms. Who's actually trying to help keep the country vibrant for future generations, and who's trying to destroy it?
In your opinion, that's the whole key. In your opinion, if we all agreed what the right path was,
let me finish. So you're saying that Elon wanting to reduce the deficit, make sure we have the town hall to speak freely. Soros, who wants to allow rapists and thugs out on the street and wants to destroy America for whatever reason. See, to me, there's a difference. You know, I will always align with that side. If Elon becomes a Soros, then I'm against the Soros, because my take is there's only one country that is, I forget the term the founding father said, but an experiment in democracy, and that's ours with the way we're set up. And that's why, Big John, I always blame the voter, because you've pushed back on that. Like, why? For everything you say, that's fine. How do you combat that with an informed voter base? That's why I'm so high on educating our kids to critically think, because at the end of the day, it's not the Elons who are going to save us. It's we, the people, but we don't want to look in the mirror. So to the audience, we had Nick Sarwalk. I'm going to make sure John plugs the show, a big libertarian guy. And I told him, Javier Milei, I will never, ever forget this. And I will make sure it gets in every debate I'm in with a libertarian. I have no use for libertarians who want to tell me what to do or what we should do, but don't want to do anything. And then when they don't get their way, they take their ball and go home. And I loathe that, because for us to combat all this, we all have to be involved. And sorry, guys, it's my show. I had the last word on that. We're moving on. I have everything I just said I'm against in that one sentence, aren't I? All right. Number 10, the final question. Guys, this is supposed to be like 10, 15 minutes, 30 minutes in. But and I know it's going to enjoy this. Should Donald Trump use Gitmo as a migrant detention center? Let's get the bad news out of the way. Big John!
Oh, absolutely not. It's like I said it before, I'll say it again. It's embarrassing. It's one of those things that makes you embarrassing to be an American. There's a reason he picked Guantanamo Bay. It's because that's where you send detainees for extrajudicial curricular activities. It's no different. It's there for a reason. There's a reason. Well, let me finish my answer, and then you could critique me, okay?
I have a question for you on that. So, do you have any data to back up because you're implying they go there, interrogate, and waterboard, and do all these vile, evil things there?
There's a reason why people get sent to Guantanamo. There's a reason why there's certain class of prisoners, detainees, if that's the word you want to use, that get sent to an area where the courts don't know what's going on. There's a reason for that. And let's not play games here. That's what Guantanamo Bay is for. You could couch it. You could say they're criminals. The truth of the matter is they're not criminals, except in very few cases where they've already been adjudicated. But being in this country illegally is not a crime. It's not something that's punishable under penal law. It's either a civil crime or a misdemeanor. So this whole thing that by being here, you're illegal, so whatever happens to you, that's a false perception. And it's a perception fostered by the Trump administration. The fact that they use language like invasion, invading army, occupying force.
Okay, answer the question so we keep moving.
Sorry. No, it's horrible.
Okay.
Horrible that they're sent there.
Yeah, and before I answer, we did have an extended segment during the live show. So if you guys are interested in finding out like more about the details on this and our opinions, go there. But my answer was no on this. We're not going to take migrants from a 5-star hotel in New York City that Biden put them in with EBT cards and
Right.
you don't have to work, to 1-star hotels and Hotel Gitmo. But I will have the caveat, if we find out more information, that it's going to be like murderers and rapists that go there because we have nowhere else to put them. Well, I don't want them in our jails either. So we need to figure out a solution. So maybe this might be that. But but my answer is generally no.
My answer is straight no. And Big John's perpetuating a myth. ACLU since 2004 has had observers there. Georgetown's Law Human Rights Institute and Center on National Security since 2014. The ADC ICT, the Pacific Council, the UN Special, I don't know how to pronounce it, Rapporteur. So there was a time when Big John was right, but not anymore. And that was settled with Bush being taken to court. I actually happened I was unofficially stationed there. Our ship was there. Our spook ship was there for many months. It's a beautiful area. And yes, there were always stories from the previous days. I was there in the 80s, 90s. So you heard, but that all changed because of when Bush decided. So that's a big myth now. Does it happen? Never say never. I'm not stupid enough to go, there's not some bunker 30 feet down below. They'll take, Osama's cousin down there, but that's highly doubtful. But since 2004, there have been observers there, and it can save us money. It's another place to put them. Some countries will not take their people back. We need to house them somewhere. And right now they're costing us billions upon billions per day. Well, not billions maybe per day, but tens of billions annually. So yes, it should be used if there are no other options. And if they just want to make it an option, I am for it. But I keep saying it's beautiful because I spent time there, man. And it is pretty there, And that is our show, my friends. Thank you to everybody for listening. Do not forget you can find this clip and others like it at grumblingsmedia.com, as well as YouTube, Rumble, Apple, Spotify, y Pandora, under the profile handle Grumblings Media. And before we go, though, Big John, plug your last great interview you had just the other day and your new shows.
Sure. So the other night on Free For All, our live stream, we had, continuing actually a pretty good streak of guests. We had former LNC chair Nicholas Sarwark, who surprisingly, William, I think you'd agree, was a very engaging fellow. He had a lot to say, and he's certainly opinionated. As a matter of fact, he reminded me a lot of you. He had a lot of opinions, very clear about them, as a matter of fact. So that's on Free For All, Thursday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. Also, typically every Thursday morning, I release my show with Mike Tremont, where he's my co-host, Liberty Lens, and as a matter of fact, immigration and Trump's immigration agenda in his first couple of weeks of his administration was the topic. So if you want, much like G said, an expanded explanation of my positions, feel free to check that out. And in general, go to grumblingsmedia.com. You'll find all my shows there. And William, thank you. G, thank you for having me on tonight.
John's what we call a foil. I think that's a proper term, but we love him to death. And I do believe we do need a strong, vibrant third party, whether I agree with it or not, because that scares every other party when there's another third party to fear. So for G. Mangani, Big John Georgopoulos, I am William Del Pilar, and this has been Fired Up. Until next time, I bid you adieu.
Hey everybody, this is Big John from Grumblings Media, and I just want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our efforts here at Grumblings Media, just smash the subscribe button right here, totally free, or just go ahead and consume more of our great content. Click either one of these two boxes.